We like to think that sales is very simple and civil. There's a buyer out there who needs a service filled. And then there is a seller who can fill that service. This seller is going to offer his service at a fair price. He's going to do a good job, and the buyer will pay him to do the service that the buyer needs. The problem is that sales is not a civil game. It's a contact sport. There's always a third person involved, and that person will be known as the current provider. It really doesn't matter what business you're in. Whatever you're selling, if you do not have someone as your current client, if it is something that they need, unless it is something that they don't know they need yet, if it is something that they need, they already are getting it from someone. This person, as we said, we'll call the current provider. Now, you would like to think that it's as simple as going in and offering the buyer maybe a better product, offering the product for less money, or maybe just going in and telling them that their current provider is an all-around bad guy. The issue with that is people do not like the boat to be rocked. They're not looking to change, so you have to convince them to change. Now, usually where most salespeople go wrong is they'll go after the current provider. They'll attack his character, his pricing, his services, whatever the case, and they would like to X him out by telling the buyer everything that the current provider is doing wrong. Here's the issue with that. This current provider was hired by the buyer. So when you insult the character or the service that the current provider is providing the buyer, what you're saying is that they are either a poor judge of character or they make poor decisions with their money and what they purchase. So you're actually, as you're trying to attack their current provider, you're actually attacking the buyer himself. That's why in his book, How to Get Your Competition Fired Without Saying Anything Bad About Them, Randy Shwantz recommends we use a technique called the wedge. Now, the wedge is actually a series of questions, and it's not an attack on the current provider directly. It goes something like this. When the current provider did whatever service you're providing that you know is better than the current provider, were you satisfied? Now, here's what we did with that question. Instead of saying that the current provider was not offering the service that the buyer needed, we asked how the customer felt about the service that the current provider was giving him. And we are asking about a specific instance that we knew we were better than the current provider. Now, I can't put something in the blank there because I don't know what you're selling and I don't know what you do better than your current provider. That's where you're going to have to do your own research and figure that out. But it could be something as simple as, let's say you were a financial advisor and you say when your current provider came out and reviewed all of your financial investments with you line by line, made sure that you were in you're in the best investment for your age and retirement plans and so forth. Were you satisfied with that service? You know, I'm making something up off the cuff here. Or whatever the case, you're asking this question to see the satisfaction of the current provider with a service that you know the current provider is not providing them. When you ask that question, what you've done is you've created a almost anger in the mind of the buyer. Really, you just created a pain to where now they are willing to fire their current provider and hire you because they now realize that it was a bad decision to work with the current provider. Again, you did not tell them it was a bad decision. All you did was ask how he was doing with this service that you knew you could provide. When you do that, as it says in the title of the book, you can get your competition fired without saying anything bad about them. Again, I highly recommend the book. There's much more in the book that Randy Shwantz goes into great detail about. Very, very helpful. Again, it's called How to Get Your Competition Fired Without Saying Anything Bad About Them. And you can probably find that just by searching Wedge and Randy Shwantz. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.